Good afternoon and welcome to the joint hearing of the Senate Joint Committee on Government Operations and Health. Today is Thursday, February 10th at 3:00 p.m. I'm Sharon Moriwaki, Chair of the Government Operations Committee, and joining me today are members, Vice Chair Senator De La Cruz, Senator Mike Gabbard, and Senator Favela. Is Senator Chang available? Senator Chang will be joining us later. And my co-chair, Senator Keoho Kalole, Chair of the Health Committee. You have members present.
Hello, yes, thank you. I'm joined by Vice Chair Senator Baker, member Senator Moriwaki, co-chair, and then hopefully to join later, Senators Favela and San Buenaventura. Thank you.
Just before we begin, a few housekeeping announcements. This hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. You can find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on live and on-demand video on the legislature's website. In the unlikely event that we encounter major technical difficulties during the hearing and must end it abruptly, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on Tuesday, February 15th via video conference. We are hearing 3 agendas today, so we've got a 90-minute slot. So if you can limit your testimony to 2 minutes and summarize your testimony as well. So moving right into the bills, Senate Bill 2124 relating to noise control. This will enhance the control of noise emitted by establishments by setting maximum permissible noise levels, and clarifies that the emission of noise that exceeds the maximum permissible noise level will be a violation, and allows for noise violations to be enforced by citation issued by law enforcement officers and the Liquor Commission. The first up would be the Attorney General's office.
They're on their way from the waiting room, Senator.
Oh, okay. I have one individual, Samuel Mitchell, in support. Are they coming in or
not present, Chair?
Not present. Okay. Anyone else wishing to testify on Zoom? We have written testimony then from the Waikiki Neighborhood Board, Chair Bob Finley in support, and 5 individuals all in support. Lynn Mataso, Midori Trent, Denise Voivart, Kim Jorgensen, and Jean Jeremiah. Well, there's no one here to ask questions, but the testimony of the Attorney General is pretty clear, helped in defining some of the concerns that was raised by the AG. So I'm going to move on to the next bill, SB 2137. Relating to transitional housing, requires a public informational meeting for a county permit to operate a halfway house, clean and sober home, or a drug rehabilitation home, and prohibits inclusion on the Department of Health's Clean and Sober Homes registry and any clean and sober home located within a half mile of an existing public or private elementary or secondary school. First up is the Attorney General's office.
Hello, good afternoon, Chairs Moriwaki and Chair Keoho Kalole and members of the committee. I'm Michelle Nakata, Deputy Attorney General. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. The Department of the Attorney General has the following comments. The Federal Fair Housing Amendments Act prohibits discrimination against community-based group living homes for persons with disabilities. This bill would require a public informational meeting before a permit is issued for a clean and sober home, drug rehabilitation home, and a halfway house. They are not required for any other type of group living facility or a family home. Therefore, the public meeting requirement may violate the Fair Housing Act. Similarly, the public informational requirement for approval of an application to be on the Clean and Sober Home Registry and the geographic spacing requirement of 1/2 mile between a clean and sober home and the school would likely also violate the Fair Housing Act. The courts have found that residents of a group home for recovering alcoholics and substance abusers were considered disabled or handicapped for purposes of the Fair Housing Act. Our points are covered in detail in the testimony submitted. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments.
Thank you. Moving on to the Department of Health. Elizabeth Char or her designee.
Aloha, Senators. Good afternoon. John Valera on behalf of the Department of Health, standing on our written testimony, offering comments. We defer to the Department of Attorney General on the measures consistency with the Americans with Disability Act and the Fair Housing Act. And we also defer to the counties regarding the implementation of Section 1. We'll be standing by for any questions. Thank you very much.
And Section 1 is what? Is that a county ordinance?
Yes, that's correct. It's a county ordinance.
On the same issue? What generally is Section 1?
Section 1 relates to Chapter 46, which I believe is a county, regulates the counties.
Okay. Thank you. So next is Habilitat.
Chair, are you going to allow questions at the end, or you just as they
Okay.
testify?
We'll wait till the end. We have a lot of testimony,
Okay.
so maybe I should wait till the end. Thank you. Habilitat.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you,
Okay,
Becky Harrison?
yes.
Yes.
Thank you, chairs and committee members. We stand by our written testimony in strong opposition to SB 2137. Discriminating against people with a disability is a clear violation of the Fair Housing and Americans with Disabilities Act. Thank you for hearing our testimony. Yeah, we're in strong opposition.
Is Jeff Nash also from Habilitat? Are you representing Habilitat?
Yeah, I'm representing Habilitat for today. He's on a plane.
Thank you. And I have Samuel Mitchell.
Not present, Chair.
Present. Okay. Anyone else wishing to testify who's present here?
Yes, Chair.
Oh, okay. Yes. Rodney Sanchez.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rodney Sanchez. I'm a Wahiawa resident. And the major concerns we have with the halfway houses is it being close to where our children go to school. Just recently, I want to say about in an 8-month period, we've been having issues with people in the halfway houses. One being a death right on the street next to Lelahua High School. Us as concerned citizens didn't know nothing about a halfway house being there, and the only reason why we found out was due to community members that spoke with the neighbors. So our issue is that we would like to be known where these houses are, and we want to keep our children safe. And in doing so, we want to be able to prevent any acts of violence or anything that happened with our children that are going to and from school in Wahiawa. Wahiawa is a small community, but we're a very tight community, and we just want the best for our children and the safety. Halfway houses have been coming up in our neighborhood that we don't know about, and that's a concern to all to all residents that live in Wahiawa. It's just not being able to be informed, as well as the safety for our children. So I speak for myself as a concerned citizen of Wahiawa, and that is all I have to say, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify that's on Zoom? Okay. We do have written testimony from Substance Abuse Coalition in opposition, the Coalition for a Drug-Free Hawaii in opposition, 2 additional testifiers from Habilitat in opposition, the Hawaii Institute for Human Services in opposition, and 3 individuals, Trisha Gushenko, Mark Gallegos, and Chauncey Apelu in opposition. Members, any questions?
Yeah, I had a question for Department of Health.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you mentioned that there's some county ordinance. Is there a way to address the concerns brought up through the county ordinance instead, or do you have other options so that we can address the community's concerns?
That's my understanding, that any sorts of like public informational requirement or any other permit parameters, it's already handled by the counties because they issue conditional use permits.
Okay, so are you saying that the better route to address the concern brought up is through a city ordinance or a county ordinance?
I'm sure the counties will be the better venue to weigh in, yes. Particularly if it's relates to a planning permit.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Chair. I don't know if the Attorney General is still available.
Attorney General?
Available. Yes,
Are you-
Senator.
Hi.
Hi. So you heard the concern brought up. You heard Department of Health. Would you share that opinion that if a similar proposal was brought up at the county level and it was an ordinance, that would be the better way to address this?
Senator, even if it was a county ordinance and here you are amending the zoning statute, it would still likely violate the Federal Fair Housing Act because clean and sober homes and persons with disabilities who are recovering from any kind of alcohol or drug abuse are protected under the Fair Housing Act.
Okay, so your feeling is that by having a extra public hearing, somehow does it protect those at the home?
The case law is fairly clear that you can't single out clean and sober homes, drug rehabilitation homes, or homes with persons with disabilities with a public information meeting requirement unless you're going to apply it to all family homes. They're treated the same way. So
how do you address the concern brought up by Mr. Sanchez then? Because there was a death and there were some violent situations right next to the high school.
I do know we have the voluntary clean and sober home registry. So for homes that want to be on the registry, you know, the state can sometimes monitor those homes if they have contracts with them. It would only be for homes that are under some kind of contract with the state on providing certain services. So the state could, you know, and does get involved and will work with those clean and sober homes on the registry.
But it's voluntary?
Yeah,
It's
that's-
voluntary for the same reason that you can't discriminate against clean and sober homes. So if you made it mandatory, that would likely be a violation, again, of the Federal Fair Housing Act.
Okay, so going back to how do we address the concern from the community then, based on the actual incidences that occurred?
I can take your question, Senator, and bring it back to our office, but again, all I can state is that these homes are protected under the Federal Housing Act and the ADA.
We heard all of that. But if you guys can take a look at what Mr. Sanchez is saying based on real incidents, if you guys can come up with options or alternatives so that we can, ensure that those type of incidents don't happen again or minimize them.
So John, from Department of Health, can you, would you be able to work with AG Michelle Nakata? And if we were to defer this for a couple of days for you folks to get together and see what we can do. It's the problem of the community being afraid, and especially when you're close to schools and the kids are the ones that are, going to be assaulted, and the parents being really worried about them. What can we do to carve out some kind of exception? And maybe you can discuss that, and we could defer for until next week, maybe, and let's see if you can come up with some idea of how we can have a really small, narrow exception, just because it's a protection of the community.
Senator, yes, I'd be happy to. And the AG is correct. Our current clean sober home registry is regulates. It's a voluntary registry, so we only regulate the homes that choose to apply to be on the registry. If the home in question is not on our registry, then it's likely we currently do not have the jurisdiction to regulate that home, but let's say to enter and inspect, that sort of thing. But I definitely can work.
Look at that, and maybe even in terms of what the requirements are on safe and sober homes, cutting it the other way, that they really need to be regulating and keeping their tenants in check instead of being out in the community and assaulting the children.
Yes, and in fact, for those, yes, Senator, and good point. And it's one of the requirements of our clean sober registry application that they be a good neighbor, and that they reach out to their communities and build relationships. And so, it
Okay.
may not be the case with every home, but yes,
So
I'd be
we're gonna-
willing to work.
Okay, so thank
Well,
you
if
very much.
if the community had a concern, who do they call at Department of Health? Let's say they know of a home that has disruptive activity. Who do they call?
If it's regarding a home that then they would typically call our office if they think it's a clean and sober home, and they would call the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Division, and we could look on our registry. If the home is not listed on our registry, then it's likely that we currently do not have jurisdiction over that home.
Mm.
And so if it's not you who has jurisdiction, who has it?
Then there might be some other community concern that either if there are controlled substances involved, then perhaps the Department of Public Safety might be involved, or if there's imminent threat to the residents, then they could call. There's always the calling 911 or the police.
So there's no regulation of safe and sober homes, putting aside the informational briefing if you're going to build one, but aren't there regulations under DOH for these group homes, like safe and sober homes, that even if they're not on a voluntary registry, that they do have to comply with certain rules and regulations, I would think. No?
Senator, so an answer, good question. The answer to that is HRS 193.7, which is addressed in the bill, it pertains to our clean and sober homes registry, but it's a voluntary registry in that we only regulate, those regulations, 193.7, only apply to those who wish to appear on the registry as a registered clean and sober home.
Thank you. Well, let's.
You know,
let-
it still
we're gonna
doesn't, I still wonder,
grasp.
all I want to find out though is if the community has concerns, which department or division or branch can address some of these concerns, because they're not going to go directly to the home themselves. Doesn't, so it only sounds like if they're on the voluntary registry, then your department or your division will handle it. But what about, do you have a, are there other agencies who they could call?
They could call, and it depends on a particular concern about the home. If it could be one of our care homes, then our Office of Healthcare Assurance might be involved. Or if it's regarding our controlled substances, then our public, we could, our public safety department might be involved. So there's, yeah, it's sort of a case-by-case basis.
It ends up just sending the community person on a wild goose chase. So that's what essentially occurs, versus if there's no clearinghouse that can direct them to get some help.
We can do our best to patch them up instead of and see who could respond to their community's concerns. Again, it depends on the particular concerns regarding the home and the
We're gonna
activities in the home.
Move us along because we do have a really tight agenda, but
You know
we
what, though,
will
if maybe
come back to it.
so if we could, if the Attorney General and the Department of Health can also bring in Mr. Sanchez into the conversation to see if there's actually something they can do to address it.
So, Mr. Sanchez, if you can give me your contact number, we will do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry,
you.
we're gonna have to move along because we've got a full agenda. So I'm gonna now turn this over to the chair of the Health Committee. He's got the lead for the next few bills. Senator
Okay.
Keo'olole.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The next measure on the agenda is SB 2159 relating to leaf blowers. This clarifies that the residential zone restriction on the use of leaf blowers at certain hours includes residential districts, apartment districts, and business mixed-use districts. Excuse me. It also removes the exemption on leaf blower restrictions for government agencies. First testifier we have is Samuel Mitchell.
Not present, Chair.
Oh, okay. So that's the only registered testifier we have. Is there anyone on the call who would like to testify on this measure, SB 2159? Okay, if there are none, I'd like to note for the record Lynn Matisau in support, and late testimony from the Department of Transportation and the City and County of Honolulu in opposition. Since there are no one here to answer questions, I'll move to the next measure, which is SB 2160 relating to leaf blowers. This prohibits the sale, offer for sale, or operation of gasoline-powered leaf blowers, increases the amounts of fines for offenses against leaf blower restrictions, and provides for the forfeiture of gasoline-powered leaf blowers on a third violation. Also removes the exemption on leaf blower restrictions for government agencies. First up, I believe we also have, it was Samuel Mitchell was the only individual who signed up to testify. Is there anyone on the call who'd like to testify? Okay, seeing none, the following organizations testified. The Honolulu County Republican Party in opposition, Outdoor Power Equipment Institute in opposition, Gerard Silva in opposition, the City and County of Honolulu in opposition, and the Retail Merchants of Hawaii in opposition. Since there's no one to ask questions, we'll move to the last item on the agenda, SB 2914 relating to health. This establishes the One Shared Health Vision Plan with a pilot program to be in Hawaii County. It requires the Office of Primary Care and Rural Health to facilitate discussions with key community health and social service organizations within Hawaii County to address the health and wellness needs of the most vulnerable by aligning the goals and objectives of key organizations into a 2030 One Shared Health Vision Plan. Also requires a report. Department of Health.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Shim. I'm Chief of the Family Health Services Division. Department of Health stands on its testimony providing comments, and I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the registered testimony we have. Is there anyone else on the call waiting for this measure? Okay, for the record, we have the Hawaii Primary Care Association, Bay Clinic, Hawaii Public Health Institute, and Councilmember Rebecca Villegas all in support, and the Hawaii State Rural Health Association with comments. Members, any questions for the Department of Health? Okay, if not, Chair, do we need to recess for decision making, or would you like to proceed?
I think we're okay on the two bills that we have lead. You're okay on yours?
We can go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, why don't we proceed then? Okay, so for Senate Bill 2124 relating to noise control, the chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments taking the Attorney General's recommendations to add noise violations and enforcement under Department of Health. Add a new section to the Liquor Commission law, section 281, to allow the commission to revoke, suspend, deny, or renew a liquor license for complaints from the public, as well as citations under the Health Department noise law. Delete sections 2 and 3 of the bill, add noise measurement enforcement, and defect, I guess, and that's it. And if there are any technical amendments. So the chair votes aye. I'm going to be taking the vote. Vice Chair, the recommendation is passed with amendments. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Dela Cruz.
Aye.
Is Senator Chang?
Aye.
Senator Gabbard. I think I saw him. Senator Gabbard.
Not here, Chair.
Okay, excused. And Senator Favela? Excused. Okay, the recommendation is adopted. 3 ayes.
Okay, for
The
Health
second,
Committee-
oh wait, one more. Senate Bill 2137 relating to the transitional housing that we just discussed. Chair's recommendation is to defer decision-making until next Tuesday. If that's okay with your Health Committee. Be really quick decision-making next Tuesday at 3:05 p.m. On February 15th. To include the Attorney General, Department of Health, and Mr. Sanchez to look at possible concerns.
Help us to vote on 2124.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
So turn it over to.
I'll turn it over to you to vote first on 2124 for Health Committee.
So it doesn't look like I have quorum for the Health Committee. So if we can keep it moving, we will defer decision-making on this whole agenda for the Health Committee to Monday, February 14th at 1:20 p.m.
Okay. Well, if you have room on yours and our committee could meet with you, we could do our decision make. Well, we'll just keep it in. We could move our
Actually, you
decision.
know what? We have Senator Favela. Let's just vote.
Okay.
Okay, so the recommendation for SB 2124 for the Health Committee is to pass this measure with amendments. I can take the vote. So Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Baker is excused. Senator Moriwaki.
Aye.
Senator San Buenaventura is excused. Senator Favela.
Reservations.
So noted, Chair. Co-chair, the recommendation for the Health Committee is adopted.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we will.
So we'll move
Yeah.
to the Health Committee lead bills, SB 2159. The recommendation for this measure is to defect the effective date and pass the bill out and continue the conversation. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll take the vote. This is Health Committee members, SB 2159 passing with amendments. The chair votes aye. Vice Chair is excused. Senator Moriwaki.
Aye.
Senator San Buenaventura. And Senator, it looks like we just lost quorum.
No. Okay, so for our part, did we lose Senator Favela?
Yeah, I
If
think
we
we
did,
lost
then we
quorum, so we'll
lost.
defer decision.
Yeah, oh, no, we have.
Senator
we have-
Favela?
Is he
He's
back
here.
on?
He's here, chairs. Just having technical difficulties. I think maybe Wi-Fi issues.
So let me go with our vote. SB 2159, Government Operations Committee, passed with amendments. Chair votes aye. Senator Dela Cruz,
Aye.
Senator Chang,
Aye.
Senator Gabbard excused, and Senator Favela. Technical difficulties. But we do have.
Oh, there he is.
Is he back on? Okay. Senate Bill 2159.
You hear me?
Yep.
WR.
And then for Health Committee, same vote, Senate Bill 2159, Senator Favela.
WR.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's move to the next measure, SB 2160. This is relating to leaf blowers. You know, the only testimony we received was all in opposition, so I'm going to recommend we defer this measure. The final bill, SB 2914, relating to health. The recommendation for this measure is to defect the effective date to January 1st, 2050, and there are also some technical non-substantive amendments. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll take the vote. SB 2914 passing with amendments, noting the excused absences of Senators San Buenaventura and Baker. With 3 members present, are there any noes or reservations? Seeing none, Chair. Seeing none, recommendation adopted. GVO Chair.
On Tuesday in the GVO time slot.
Okay, so for Senate Bill 2914 for GVO Committee, a same recommendation passed with amendments. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Dela Cruz,
Aye.
Senator Chang,
Aye.
Senator Gabbard excused, and Senator Favela.
Aye.
The recommendation is adopted. That is it.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Let me just announce that Senate Bill 2137 on GVO and Health Committee will meet at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, the 15th, our time slot for DM.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Aloha. And this is relating to the advancing of civic engagement. It appropriates funds for 1 full-time position to the public access room to provide educational outreach and engagement with Hawaii public schools. Common Cause. Sandy Ma here. Sandy, hi Sandy.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Sandy Ma for Common Cause Hawaii. We support SB 2885 to have more public outreach, to have civic engagement, to educate the public about civic engagement. It is desperately needed in Hawaii so that we can have more engaged people to know about what is going on in our government. Thank you very much. If you have any questions of me, I'm available. Thank you.
Thank you. The next is the Commission to Promote and Advance Civic Education, PACE. Lisa Ganoza.
Chair Moriwaki, Vice Chair Dela Cruz, and committee members, good afternoon. I appear as Chair of the PACE Commission, and we are in strong support of this bill. The PACE Commission was created last year, and we've put a little bit of our background in our written testimony. But our mission is to promote and advance civic education in the schools and in the community. And we think that the creation of this position really will move forward that mission with regards to the public's access and ability to learn more about the legislature. So we fully support it. There is one amendment we recommend. The bill as drafted would have this position engage with public schools, and we just simply suggest that it should be for all schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have Charter Communications, Rebecca Lieberman. Is Rebecca on?
Hi, good afternoon, Chair. I'm actually speaking with regard to SB 2886.
Oh. All right, we're on 22885, so I'm gonna move on to anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Okay, we have written testimony from Budget and Finance with comments, Legislative Reference Bureau with comments, Hawaii County Council in support, Hawaii Youth Services in support, and one individual in support. Members, any questions? Okay, thank you. Moving on to SB 2886 regarding broadband equity. It requires a Hawaii Broadband and Digital Equity Office. Someone is, can you mute somebody with, Bert, are you making that sound? Oh, thank you. To collect certain data from communication service providers, determine performance standards for broadband service, and publish a publicly available web-based broadband infrastructure and service map. Establishes the criteria for the Hawaii Broadband Digital Office to consider determining designated unserved and underserved areas. First up is the Department of Business Economic Development. Bert? Oh, that's you. Oh my. What is that sound? I can't hear you.
Is that his testimony?
Yeah, is that your testimony? It's just like, okay.
Chair, it seems that he's having technical difficulties.
Okay. Oh my, our Digital Equity Office with technical difficulties. We do have your written testimony if you can find a way to get on, Bert, maybe even by phone. I'm going to move us on and then try to get back in. Curie, I don't know if you can help him. Oh, that's, oh no. We want to hear from you. I had questions of you, but we're going to have to move on. Hawaii Telecom, Janine Suki with comments. Anyone else wishing to testify?
Aloha, Chair. This is Janine Suki with Hawaii Telecom. Sorry, I was having a little bit of trouble connecting earlier as well. I just we wish to offer our comments and stand by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have written testimony from the Disability Council in support, the Hawaii Office of Community Services in support, the Office of Informational Practices with comments, the HPCA in support, the CTIA in opposition, Verizon in opposition, and one individual in support. Is that a hand up now, Rebecca?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Rebecca Lieberman from Charter Communications. We stand on our written testimony, providing comments, and are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I do have a question, but I don't know if Bert can get back on. Oh no. So the testimony that's coming in opposition is that there is federal regulations and on mapping and on performance standards that are being developed right now. And I'm just wondering whether that would be in conflict or that it's premature in our having our office look at these regulations and create our own rather than wait for the federal. And I don't know if Bert, it would go to your office, whether you can address that without the sound. Maybe, I don't know what we can do. If you can call in, Bert, is that a possibility? Otherwise, maybe Rebecca, you had some testimony in that regard. If you can tell us where the federal regulations are on the mapping and the performance standards.
We just felt that the requirements in the bill for the mapping differed from the federal requirements, and it's our understanding that the mapping program from the FCC, that information should be published, we believe, before the end of the year. So we just, charter standpoint is that those mapping requirements, if the state is going to ask for them, should be in line with the federal requirements, so asking for shape files and as well as the definitions. The federal government has done a really good job creating a standard, and we think it would make the most sense for the state of Hawaii to use that standard as well.
Do you know what the timeline is? Would you have some information on these rules? Because that's critical in terms of how long we wait. We don't want to be behind in terms of our own rules and regulations.
It's my understanding that the FCC is in the process of collecting this information, and they should have it in the coming months. I'd be happy to follow up with more specific timeline information to you, Chair, and members of the committee.
Okay. Members, any other questions? I don't know if Bert is back on, but
I'm back on, but not sure if my audio is working.
Oh no, you are
Can you hear me?
working. Yes. So same question to you. Most of the opposition to this bill is that it's premature, that the feds are coming up with performance standards and mapping, and that this bill may be in conflict with that or premature. What is your position on that? Would your office be able to handle that, or where are you?
Well, so again, my name is Bert Lam. I'm the Broadband Strategy Officer here at the Hawaii Broadband and Digital Equity Office. In terms of the federal data efforts, we would basically request the same data that the carriers would be providing to the feds, and we would build our own capability of doing the analysis and mapping for that data. And one of the primary reasons for doing this is to not only build capacity within our own state agency, but also we're looking at having to be able to respond quickly to some of the monies coming down from IIJA, particularly the BEAD money, which is the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment. And they have some pretty strict guidelines around determining what is unserved and underserved. And we would like to be able to get this rich data and be able to do the analysis and the mapping on our own, and not necessarily wait for the federal government to tell us how to use it.
Okay, you said that in order to do this, you would need staff and resources. So how many and how much are we talking about here? Because there's no appropriation in this bill.
That's correct. And there's another Senate Bill 2076, which was introduced by Senator Hawai'i, and in it he asked for a budget for people that would be required to do the work that is required of the office. And within that particular budget request, I have a 1 FTE and for data and data analysis, as well as some money for some contract contract services. So I think that would cover it. But again, it's in SB 2076.
And SB 2076 also addresses the same issues on mapping and on coming up with performance standards as required.
No, the purpose for SB 2076 is really to further define and clarify the function of the Broadband Digital Equity Office. So it does not get into specifics around data and data gathering.
So you're saying that if you have one more person, you're going to be able to do extensive work that's in this bill in terms of performance mapping, collecting data, analyzing the data?
Yeah, that would be 100% improvement over what I currently have.
Yeah, but the question is, are you able to come up with the requirements of this bill, which is quite extensive, even with one person?
Well, I think if the data was made available, we would have other support within our own, the Office of Planning has been supporting us with GIS services, as well as other state departments. So there's existing expertise and platform availability. So in my estimation, if we could have a person that is focused in on this effort, I think there are resources that we don't have to duplicate.
But if you couldn't get the one person, you won't be able to do this by yourself, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, is that a hand up for Rebecca or that?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add one comment. While we appreciate that the bill says that, the bill includes language that says use data formats consistent with those used for the federal government, there's some problematic conflicting language, or rather some language that conflicts with that of the federal requirement as well. And like I said, I will provide more information on the timeliness of the FCC maps, which we expect by the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions of testifiers? Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to move on to the next bill, which is 3212 relating to telecommunication. Requires the Office of Enterprise Technology Services, OETS, to establish a working group to identify state office buildings that can provide access to allow residents of the counties of Hawaii, Kauai, Maui, and rural areas of Honolulu, and including residents with disabilities, to participate remotely in legislative hearings. First up is the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, is Daintree Bertolison.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chair Moriwaki and Senator Vice Chair Dela Cruz. I'm Zosimo Arista, testifying on behalf of Daintree Bartoldes, Hawaii State Council on Development of Disabilities. And we strongly support SB 3212 and stand on the testimony that was submitted. Available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is OETS, Office of Enterprise Technology Services, Doug Murdoch.
Aloha, we'll stand for testimony in support of the bill.
Thank you. And Hawaii Public Health Institute, Jaylene Murakami.
Written testimony, Senator.
Oh, okay. Anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, that's all I have. Questions of the witness, anyone? Okay, moving on to the last bill then, it's SB 3037 relating to gifts, defines the reporting and disposition of protocol gifts received by state legislators and employees. First up is the Hawaii State Archives, Dr. Adam Jansen.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, thank you for this opportunity to testify. On behalf of Comptroller Otaguro, DAG stands on our testimony, and I just want to emphasize, as the State Archives, we've had at least 6 opportunities in the last few years to bring out some of these types of protocol gifts when we had visiting foreign dignitaries. And just to see the immediate connection that these things make is absolutely a phenomenal experience. These objects have far more value as cultural, political, and historical objects than they ever will as monetary. And our concern is we've had long-term, even representatives and senators recently separate from service with no protocol gifts that were turned over to the state. I find that very difficult. And there is really no place to put these or designate these or track these in any truly effective way. And anybody, just go out and look and ask. So these treasured objects need to be tracked. They need to have a permanent home. If the giftee wants to continue to hold it in their office, that's great. But we need to know about it, and so that it can go somewhere at the end of its term. So I thank you, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you, Adam. Next, the Hawaii State Ethics Commission, Robert Harris.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. We'll stand on a written testimony. Just note that we may need to draw further distinction between gifts to the individual and gifts to the state, and would be willing to work with stakeholders in trying to come up with that. Aloha.
Thank you. Next, I have the comptroller, but you, Adam, you represented the comptroller. Next is Common Cause Hawaii.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Sandy Ma for Common Cause Hawaii. We do support SB 3037, but we have some suggested amendments. We are concerned that protocol gifts given to legislators or employees of the state are able to be kept by such individuals who represent the state. We believe that it should be turned over to the appropriate state agency for safekeeping. We don't think that it should be able to be kept by the recipient when they are working in their official capacity. We think that it leads to some inference of inappropriate misconduct or conflict of interest or buying of access that is inappropriate, especially during these times. And so we suggest that it be immediately turned over within 2 weeks of receipt. And those are our proposed amendments, and we are happy to work with the State Ethics Commission on a better distinction between an official capacity and individual capacity. I'm available for any questions. Thank you for allowing Common Cause to testify on this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Do we have anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Okay, members, any questions of the testifiers? Okay, Sandy, I do have one question in your testimony, and you're talking about the immediate transfer, I don't know, that 2-week period. And when I look at the bill itself, and I'll ask Mr. Jensen as well, Dr. Jensen, but it looks like what it is it gives you options. You don't have to really transfer the gift if if you have it in your office, next person comes in, it stays in the office, or you can transfer, or you give it to archives, and archives stores it or brings it out wherever it's needed. So I'm just wondering what you meant by this 2-week, because the 2-week period seems like it's a bit heavy with somebody having to decide what to do with it, with an object in 2 weeks. So I wanted to ask you and then ask Dr. Jensen just to address that issue.
Thank you, Chair, for that question. So what we are concerned about, and of course, we're happy to work with this commission, this committee and Dr. Jansen and the Ethics Commission to refine what we are concerned with. It's if, for example, a legislator is gifted a vase or an expensive pen, we would like this to be logged and then transferred to the appropriate state agency. And then if, for example, the vase wants to be borrowed out for display in a particular legislator's office, then that is appropriate. And then it could be returned for borrowing by another legislator's office, but it needs to be signed out. It shouldn't be kept in a legislator's office. And then when the legislator leaves, then like Dr. Jansen has said in his testimony, there's no trace of it again. And so that is what we are concerned with, because it's not the personal property of the recipient who is working in his or her or they's official capacity. It is the property of the state, it's the property of the people. And so that is what we're talking about. Have it be turned over to the official state agency, then we think a 2-week period of time is enough time to turn it over. If that is not enough time, we're happy to work on a different time frame for turning over the gift. Thank you.
So, Dr. Jensen, just in terms of how I read this bill, and is that there's 2 parts to it. One is the receipt of gifts and what you do with it, and there are a number of options, 3 options. You keep it, or is the next person when you leave, the next person who's in that office gets it, or if they don't like it, they call you, or they call State Foundation of Culture and the Arts. So it's like, what do you do when you dispose of this beautiful object? And the second part is the written record. And what it seems to me from your testimony is that the written record part of it, the tracking of it, is maybe lacking. And those are the 2 issues of this, rather than the time period. It must be done, but it hasn't even been done recently, I guess. So can you address what we do now with protocol gifts?
The protocol gifts follow under the same stipulations as any other gift. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a $200 reporting threshold. Well, some of these gifts don't meet that threshold for a $sign, but because they come from what we define very narrowly as a protocol gift, a foreign delegation or a head of a other state or federal agency coming on a business relationship trip, some of those gifts don't meet that threshold. But again, the cultural, historical, and political value of that object far exceeds, the $100 the thing may be worth. And therefore, when this delegation in future generations comes back, we want to ensure that we have the ability to bring out that original protocol gift to say, look how deep the history between you and the people of Hawaii are. That is the intent. And so from our experience dealing with protocol gifts, if a senator is gifted something by a delegation, for you to immediately turn around and hand it off to somebody else really is a bit of an insult and a devaluation of that gift. So as long as the recipient is an office holder of some nature and they want to display it in their office, then by all means, it is a symbol of that relationship. But when they leave, either the person who takes their position as head of or Senator can continue to prominently display that relationship, or turn it over to the organization that can ensure the long-term preservation of this object. And that's us, that's State Foundation.
So you are the ones who will go in and record, or if I got a gift, I would record and say, Adam, I got a gift, and you will keep the record so that we have a state record of these gifts.
We would anticipate an annual submission of all of the gifts that have been received so that, yes, we can track it. And you only have to look at the federal level when the previous executive of the United States left office and the absolute chaos around where did all of the gifts go. There were photographs of executive staff walking out with protocol gifts, finding these things down in Florida. We have to do better because of what it represents. It's not just a thing, it's that relationship.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Anyone else with questions? Okay, at this time, I'd like to take a recess to go into decision making. Curie, could we go into break room, please? We're back from we're ready for decision-making on SB 2885 relating to advancing civic engagement. The chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, taking the PACE recommendation that would include all schools, public and private, and adding a effective date so that we can see what we need to do in terms of space for LRB to do this program. So the chair votes aye. Vice Chair Dela Cruz.
Aye, but I was just going to suggest that there's
yes.
lots of space on the fourth floor that where Ford guys used to be.
Yes, that's right. Okay, well, good. Maybe we don't have to defect the date, then we can just address that in this bill. Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Gabbard, no, excused. And Senator Favela. I thought I saw him. No, excused. Okay, excused. Okay, with 3 voting aye, the recommendation is adopted. You're now going to SB 2886. Because of the lack of appropriation in this bill, and also the maybe being premature with a number of the federal standards being determined and the mapping being determined at this point, the chair's recommendation is to defer this measure. Any questions, members? SB 3212 relating to telecommunication requires OETS to establish a working group to identify state office buildings on the neighbor islands and the rural areas of the Honolulu, and to be able to have remote access to legislative hearings. The chair's recommendation is to pass with technical non-substantive amendments. The chair votes aye. Vice Chair Dela Cruz.
Aye.
Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Gabbard excused. Senator Favela.
Reservations.
Measure is adopted with 4 voting aye. And the last measure is SB 3037 relating to gifts. The chair's recommendation is to pass with technical non-substantive amendments. The chair votes aye. Vice Chair Dela Cruz.
Aye.
Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Gabbard excused. Senator Favela.
Aye.
Okay, 4 voting aye. Measure is adopted. Thank you, everyone. This concludes our hearing on
So we get out and go to trans.
Yeah. So this is we're going to go to trans. Thank you.